All right, everyone. I'm excited to introduce my next guest, entrepreneur, award-winning TV host, best-selling author, motivational speaker. Speaking of best-selling author, author of the brand new Pitch Secrets A to Z. We'll be covering G through O. No, I'm just kidding. Please welcome to the show the $2.5 billion queen of pitch, Dr. Forbes Riley. Hey.
Wow, that sounds so very impressive. I'm going to have to use that as my opening, like in the morning one night. Instead of a snooze alarm, welcome, Dr. Forbes Riley.
It's got a ring to it. Well, Doc, I'll call you Forbes, okay, right?
Yes. It's a little unusual name, and I often say to people, Forbes is in the magazine.
It's a unique name, but I dove into your IMDb, so at some point you changed it to Forbes.
I did, and actually that story's in the book because Forbes is a very important name to my family. My grandmother could not get my dad or my uncle into engineering school because they had a very ethnic last name back in the 50s. She went to the phone book and picked that name. I'm really glad, as a magazine, I'm glad that she didn't pick Playboy.
Playboy Riley, welcome to the show.
Playboy Riley. That'd be very funny.
So before you became like one of the greatest masters of the pitch and selling and making all this crazy money with the spin gym and all that kind of stuff, I looked it up. You can still buy it.
You can still buy. Wait, that's what he's talking about. So what a spin gym is, because I do always pitch, is after hosting 197 infomercials and doing 1,500 different products on a network called Fit TV, which, by the way, everything that I say you guys can find on YouTube. If you want to watch the history of how pitching started on television, go to Fit TV with Forbes Riley, and you'll see I did that. The network that Body by Jake started with us, he ended up selling for $500 million in 1993. But along the way, and why some of you may not go, oh my God, I didn't recognize her face. Somebody last night said, I grew up with you. I'm like, I hope you're only 12. But he said, I never made it about me. And for a lot of reasons, even though I've been as successful as I am, one of the reasons I teach now and talk to a lot of people is for many years, given my history and trauma that I've been through, I played small. Apparently my playing small is bigger than most people's I'm played big, but not quite as big as Oprah playing big. So along the way, I was a great sidekick. I promoted a lot of things. Then at one point in history, about 15 years ago, I was looking for my own product. I needed to pivot my own career. And a gentleman had created something a little similar based on the world's oldest toy known to man. And I am in the National Fitness Hall of Fame. I've been doing fitness products my whole life. Ab rockers, the rollerblades, different diet programs. That was my bent. And when I touch this thing, it's not an office de-stressor. It's the greatest fitness product on the planet. And when you use it for your arms, you punch a little bit, you're over here, overhead. And I'm sitting here on a Zoom call, the greatest product. I've done $1 million a day on home shopping of the only product that I put my name on.
That's amazing. I think I need one of those because like my shoulders start to get stiff because I sit all day. And
oh my gosh. All kidding aside, you squeeze your scapula back here, you straighten your arms, you squeeze your scapula, everything about your posture will change and your belly will get flatter because it doesn't spin unless your core is tight. I became a martial artist. Many, many years ago, I got mugged in Los Angeles. And I ended up in a self-defense studio and a taekwondo dojo for many, many, many years. And I kept training. I kept studying Aikido and Wing Chun. And I just am fascinated by the philosophies that we do not have here in the United States. One of them is that you respect your teachers. You respect your elders. You walk into a martial arts studio and you bow. Can you imagine high school kids in the U.S. walking in, looking at a teacher and bowing because they know more? Also to walk in with a glass not already full, but even if you know everything, you empty it out, and when you learn a new skill, whether you're going to learn how to roller skate or play piano or fly a plane, know nothing. Literally show up completely empty and let all that new knowledge come into you. And so for many years, I've functioned that way. And I'm grateful to my Eastern teachers who just didn't quite think the way my Western ones did.
That's fascinating. I love that. That's really cool. Sorry you got mugged, but...
Well, here's a philosophy about that. I believe that life happens for you, not to you. I've had a lot of tragedy in my life. I raised a little boy for 12 years who was murdered. He was my best man at my wedding, and my wedding photo is on the cover of the LA Times, not where you want to see it. My mom was held up at the house when we were little at gunpoint. My parents were part of the gun club, and I don't know what went wrong there, but somebody wanted revenge. Luckily did not kill my mother, but stole everything from us. And then my dad had a horrible accident and cut off the front of his left hand and spent 3 years in the hospital. Wow, you don't want to be me. But all of those things, and it's not about me, but if you look at your own lives, All kinds of things have happened to you. And if you choose to still be here, having gone through all of those, what lessons did you learn? And who did you become because of those things? So I never say that I'm sorry that it happened. I'm not. If you're still here, congratulations. And what you get to do if you want to live your life to the fullest is to look at what happened, take the life lesson, and keep on going. Because I guess if it doesn't kill you, it does make you stronger.
As they say. Yeah, that's true. You know, that's what moves you forward. That's what you learn from. Those are the things that motivate you to the next step. So, well, I'm sorry all those things happened, but thank you for the lesson too.
Yeah, and I also, I literally do make a very powerful gesture to the universe that I'm grateful for all the things that I've gone through and all the people that I've loved and lost, part of the journey. You don't get to make up the rules in life. It happens no matter what you do. And here's the other thing I want all of you to understand. For those of you who are whining, going, life's not fair. I don't know where the life is fair notebook is living. Maybe it's under somebody else's bed because I never found it. Life has got nothing. It never promised to be fair. Isn't that ironic? Life is just life. And again, I go back to my Eastern philosophies of there's so many great lessons taught there that we're never taught in school. From meditation to believing that you're nothingness, to finding how water moves and how your hands can move and flow with the universe. And I've been watching a lot of videos here. Apparently in our country, a lot of people are getting attacked in a variety of ways. And so I see all these self-defense videos. When somebody goes to strangle you or hold you, your natural defense is to do this. But if you can reach under, out, and do that to somebody, you can get out of those situations. Well, that's what I was taught most of my life, is how do you get out of those situations? How do you make the best of what's happening at the moment? And it's never brute force. It is a mental game.
Forbes. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't expect any of that, did you? Oh, I thought you was just an infomercial host.
No, this is, I mean, look, you never know where the conversation is going to go. I mean, it's fascinating. I'm a big believer, more recently than of the universe kind of guides you and things happen. And it's your job to kind of take those things and make lemons out of lemonade, I guess, as they say. But
I would do something really fun. I would find a number in life that means something to you. It doesn't matter what the number is. And then find where that number shows up for you. Because I use that as a signpost. I don't know how this came to me, but the number of the house that I grew up in is also the number of the room that my teacher is in my first movie. It's literally a 3-digit number. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. When I pulled into the parking lot on my 50th birthday in Las Vegas, it was the number of the parking space that we pulled into and the number of my hotel room. And I thought, okay, this is getting a little, and that number appears on the clock 2 times a day. And every once in a while I'll look over and there it will be. Not a number after, not a number before, but that moment. And I continually feel I lost my parents about 27 years ago. And whenever I see that number, it makes me smile. I think about them and I get a sense that they're watching. Whether real or imagined, it's nice to have those. I think a number is a really fun thing as a signpost to find in life.
My brother has, and then I sort of adopted it, 222. Yeah. And then there was a period in my life where I think it was after my grandma died, I would always hear sounds funny, Steve Winwood, Higher Love on the radio. And
I got it.
And any time I was doing something important or anything like that, that song would just come on. I mean, like random. And I'm talking about like long time after it was ever popular or anything like that. So I get that. I totally get that. 100%. Totally.
And for me, it was a song I'd never heard before, but it was the Hawaiian version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow with the little ukulele.
Such a good version.
I will I will hear that and immediately just give my mom a big virtual hug.
That's amazing. It's nice that your mom sent such a great song. Cool. All right. So before you became the Queen of Pitch, Queen of Long Island, right? The actress, like you originally were, your origins are like you wanted to be an actress, and you were right. And how did you go from that? How did you get into that? Because I know you did that for a while, and you got some cool credits. I'll rattle off.
Okay, so the story is, and if I can share my screen, that's even more fun. I will tell you that one of the things in my life was I was a very awkward little kid, and remember, life happens for you, not to you. My parents, I'm second generation immigrants. My mom was a bit of an agoraphobic, overweight, and housebound. And my dad was an inventor and a crazy dreamer who did magic. Okay. When I went off to school, I had teeth that went in all different directions. And my parents didn't think to do anything about it. Maybe they didn't realize it. And I'll show you a quick little picture of that if I can, because it began to inform me about why I do what I do the way I do it. And I didn't know any of this You know, when you're looking life head on, it just keeps coming at you. When you look at it in the rearview mirror, you're like, now I can understand why that might have happened. And so for me, and I'm going to show you a picture that's kind of goofy, but did you have braces when you were a kid?
Yes.
How long?
Longer than I should have because I kept eating these candies and popping the brackets. So.
Oh, you're bad. Oh, I bet your orthodontist was pissed at you. So for me, I looked a lot like this when I was little, and my teeth, you can see this little separation here. Well, what you don't really see is that my mom, being the woman that she was, had the mold of my mouth. You can see that. She kept it from 1968. I was 8 years old, and I still have it because that's part of the tradition. I take it out at Halloween and I scare kids. They slapped me in braces, but not for a year or 2 years or 3 years, but for 8 years because they had to fix my jaw. And the more I kept growing them, I don't know what happened. Put rubber bands and headgear, and then they screwed this thing into my mouth. This is called a tongue thruster. You do this to a little girl, and she's talking like this, and nobody wants to be her friend because nobody understands a word you say. I got to share with you that definitely the worst time and the best time, but I look at that little face there, and that girl doesn't smile for the next couple of years because she doesn't want to show her mouth. When I finally did get my braces off, I ran into a baseball bat and I broke my nose. So I have a weird, goofy nose. I've got frizzy hair. I'm overweight, and that's what I look like. And I was a kid who always used to look at movies and TV and just dream. I wanted to be James Bond. I wanted to walk the Oscars. I wanted to be glamorous. I wanted to kiss Cary Grant. I wanted a lot of things. That's very different from the life that I was leading. And one day, my dad's in the hospital. He's in the hospital for 3 years during high school. You can just be sad that your dad's in the hospital and you're broke because the only guy who worked was no longer working. And I walked in one day and my mother said, "We have no more money for college. We're flat broke. I'm really sorry, kiddo." And I was about to skip a year of high school. That's how smart I was. And she said, "Well, there is a scholarship to college, but it's the Miss Teenage America pageant." And she looked at my face and said, "Well, I guess that's not going to work for us." Now, I love my mother, and she didn't mean it to be mean. She meant it to protect me because that girl is not winning beauty pageants. But the crazy thing is, and this is where I created a whole philosophy about belief. Dreaming it, believing it, and achieving it. So to dream it is something so big, but to believe it is to speak it out loud. At that moment, my dad's doctor turned to my mother and said, "I'm going to fix your daughter's nose for free. You guys have been through a lot, and at least I could do to help you guys out." Well, I woke up a couple of days later. I looked completely different. I had this cute little nose. My eyes seemed bigger. Maybe I wasn't eating for a few days, but I got a little thinner. And I looked at this Miss Teenage application. I thought, you know what? Well, let's go do this. I got a hand-me-down bridesmaid's dress. And this little voice in me says, "You got to save your family. Because if you don't, no one's coming to rescue you." And I entered the competition. And I remember the finals. There's a beautiful picture. I don't have it here, but of 4 girls. The one in the blue dress, you can tell she's going to win this. And that was me. And I did. I ended up on TV with Bob Hope on NBC. And my life completely changed. And it changed so fast that it reminded me or made me realize life can change that fast. And I said, we're going to create this Forbes Riley character. We're going to go off to New York, not to be a lawyer, but I'm going to be an actress like I said I wanted to be. And my poor parents looked at me and was like, "Oh my God, Forbes, we can't help you." And I said, I got this. And I just went on blind faith with very little cash. And I landed the lead role in my very first feature film audition called Splatter University. What I loved about Splatter University was it was all about this young teacher who went to a college to take over for a teacher who'd been murdered. I didn't really love the killing girls things, but and don't laugh, Jeff, but there was no nudity in the movie. I thought that's a good thing. I don't want to be doing that. I won't embarrass my parents, but it was okay if girls got killed. Anyway, I liked the storyline. I thought it was interesting. And I got offered the lead role and they were paying me. Crazy. And I never told anybody after I did. I'm like, that's kind of a little hokey title. And 30 years later, we helped remaster the DVD. There's a whole fan base of this movie. It has its own Facebook page. And people call me, to talk about Julie Parker all the time, like the character I played. And I went on from there. And I did my next feature film, which was a rock and roll Animal House. And then I did soap operas and movies. And I've been working my entire life. Now, what happened, though, was because being an actress is challenging. And I did some things that I'm just for the first time talking about. At one point, there was no Me Too movement there. Nobody believed you when somebody was casting couch. Ha, ha, ha. Well, when you're a young, attractive 20-year-old, that's not a joke. So I remember some big agency called me and said, "Hey, can you meet me for lunch?" I'm like, "Oh my God, my big break, yes." And I go to the hotel where the restaurant is. That's not where he's meeting me. He's meeting me in his hotel room. And I'm so naive that I thought, okay, great, we'll have lunch up there. It didn't even dawn on me. And so I get up there and there's a whole food spread, only I was on the menu and he didn't tell me that. Now, luckily, he was a little shorter than I was. And I remember looking at him like, I was quite conservative back then. I was like, "Dude, what really?" I put my hand on his head going, "What are you doing?" And I was so upset when I got home. I thought, how dare somebody do that to me? And I said, we're going to fix this. You need an agent. You need someone to look out for you and pitching who you are. But I'm not going to do that dance again. So I got a piece of stationery, which tells you how long ago it was the mid 80s. And I said, CMA, Creative Management for Artists. There was no computer. There was no internet. I just did a mimeograph machine. And I hired a woman, a British woman named Lindsay Maxwell. And Lindsay loved Forbes Riley. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful, wonderful actress. And Lindsay would pitch me all over the place. And I would get booked. I got a Broadway show because of this. And the crazy thing is, I was Lindsay Maxwell. I never told anybody about this for several decades because I was kind of embarrassed that I couldn't find a legitimate agent. But two, I thought maybe I'll get arrested. You know, I don't think you're allowed to impersonate people. All I know is for 3 years, I discovered that I could pitch Forbes Riley anywhere, anytime. She got commercials and movies and Broadway shows. I was like, this is almost too good. Except that one time was very embarrassing because this is when there was pay phones. You had to put no cell phones. Can you imagine? And I remember some producer saying, I need to talk to your manager. And I'm like, I'll be right back. And I did a Superman in the phone booth. I know.
That's amazing.
Story.
That is
amazing. Right?
I mean, that's really great, actually. That's brilliant. Yeah. What Broadway play did you get yourself?
I did The Marriage of Figaro, the play version opposite Christopher Reeve, who was played by Superman, and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who played Al Pacino's sister in Scarface. And it was a wonderful cast, and it was out there. And I played a 15-year-old boy on roller skates, because in the opera Marriage of Figaro, it's always a soprano. So they cast because young boys have very high voices, so they always cast a woman in that role. And the crazy director put me on roller skates. So I am zipping in and out all over the place, all my hormones rushing, playing a boy at 15, although I'm a woman in my 30s or 20s. Pretty funny.
That's amazing.
But I got to hang out with Superman.
I know.
It was insane. Not only Christopher Reeve, but I got to hang out with Matthew Broderick and become friends with him. And I dated Neil Simon, if you know who he was. Oh my God, I dated one of the greatest playwrights ever. Like, I'd done Barefoot in the Park, and I knew The Odd Couple. And I'm like, really? And he was a lot older than me, but I had the time of my life.
That's awesome. I know who Neil Simon is. And Matthew Broderick, you said you hung out with?
Yeah, and Dustin Hoffman. I mean, New York was an amazing time back then. There was a lot of innocence going on, and I was enjoying myself to no end.
And we skipped over Bob Hope a little bit. You mentioned him, but did you?
I was 16 years old. The thing I can say about Bob Hope and me is that I was smart enough to get a selfie. I have it on my wall to prove to people that Bob and I got to hang out. And then he invited me. We kind of became close for a little while. He invited me to a golf tournament with him, President Gerald Ford, somebody else. I got to sit in their golf cart and run around Long Island. And then when Bob would come into town, he'd ask me to tap dance with him. Again, some of the crazy relationships that I've managed to manifest in my life. I've manifested a lot of things. I can't explain all of this. I can just tell you that when you believe, like blindly believe. So here's a crazy story I don't tell very often, because I really love being an actress. I will switch how I ended up pitching, but acting was my first love. And I watched Lily Tomlin do this one-woman show that she wrote called Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe. She doesn't change her clothes. She doesn't change her set. And she acted everything, playing 15 different characters. I, at the time, had very little money. I'm sitting in the nosebleed seats, and I'm just like glued. I've never seen anything like this. And I loved it so much. That was 30 years ago. Well, at one point in my career, I was in Los Angeles, and I wrote a one-woman show. And it's funny, the guy who directed was directing a play that I was doing is Ted Lange, the guy who played the bartender on Love Boat. I have some great, goofy friends that I just grew up watching on TV. Like, I became really good friends with Battlestar Galactica's, I'm thinking, guy who played Apollo.
Richard
Hatch. I'm like, I'm loving life that I get to be hanging out with these people for real. And so we do my one-woman show. It gets a lot of acclaim. And Lily calls my team and says, hey, I want to redo my show. I would like to hire an actress to do it so I can watch it. And then I'm going to take it out. And I audition and I get it. The next thing you know, I am doing 15 characters that I loved like 30 years ago. And it was an extraordinary experience. I'm like, how did I get that lucky out of all the people in this country to get to play a show that had such an impact on me so many years ago?
That's really cool. I saw Lily Tomlin do that. She did in Detroit. I met her at a meet and greet just before as well. I mean, just for, hey, just. I
get it. Yeah, so you saw it, right?
Yeah, amazing. And she's from Michigan. That's really cool, though. So you got to learn where you got to do the characters in front of Lily Tomlin. That must have been a little bit nerve-wracking in itself, though, right?
The whole experience took on a life of its own because I'm talented at acting. I can certainly mime a lot. And you saw that she had no props, everything. If you would take, one of my characters took a shower, did her scrubbing of things and everything. And there's nothing there. You have to make it all up in your head. And about a week into rehearsal, I went to the director and I said, would you please fire me? He said, why? You're brilliant at what you're doing. I'm like, I can't memorize a single page of dialogue. I've got 250 pages, a book this thick, and I've got to memorize all of the, I can't do it. And he said, you can't quit. I'm like, oh yeah, watch me. Because I didn't want to be embarrassed. And this is, again, life happening for you. He made me go to a hypnotherapist. And the guy says to me, so what's going on? I said, I'm doing this play. I can't memorize any of the words and I just want to go home. He said, great, go. I said, I'm sorry, what? How's that helping me? He said, well, what do you want? I said, I can't do it. He said, then go home. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this is now you're pissing me off. I thought I came here that you could tell me how I can do it. He said, well, how can you do it? I'm like, and then my brain was like, what do you mean? I said, okay, so I'm going to stand up and say, I can do it. And he said, go home. Because the can I just said wasn't really a can. It was kind of a pissed off can't. And so I listened to this insane logic. And he said to me, have you ever memorized anything? And I'm like, yeah, I just did my one woman show. And he's like, what's the difference? And I thought, okay, all right, let's play your game. Let's say I can do this. How am I supposed to memorize all this? And he said, that's the best question that you've asked. He said, let me tell you something about your short-term memory in your brain. He said, you're going to take each line of dialogue and you're going to write it in cursive. You're going to hook it, write it again, and then write it in the air, every single line. Then you're going to audio record it, listen to it every morning before you get up. Literally, you get up, you turn on 2.5 hours, by the way. So if I got up at 5, I'm still listening by the time 7:30 rolls around. And every night you click that button and you listen to it when you go to sleep. All I can tell you is we had about a 4-week rehearsal period. I did the show for 6 months and I never missed a word. Really? There was no teleprompter. I was flying out there and it always worked whenever I needed it. And the crazy thing to me was I recently found a copy of the book on my shelf. I opened it up and I thought, you said all these words? I don't even remember the words. I remember like 2 sentences out of the entire play. And what it did for me was it set me on a journey to understand what is hypnosis? How does your brain work? And by the way, I know we're going to talk about my book, but when you get to chapter N is NLP, how the science of your brain works. And it got unlocked all because I couldn't memorize a play.
That's amazing. Thank you, Lily Tomlin. Thank you, Hypno.
Yes, thank you, Lily. So the fun thing, though, is the transition. And this is really important for your audience. You guys listen to this. Doors will close in your life. Chapters will end. And one of the best things that you can do in life is get comfortable with chapters ending. Some people just fight it. High school's over. College is over. Your marriage might be over. Your job might have fired you. Close the door and move on. That's what life is. It's all about chapters that you do. And if you keep lamenting about going back to the chapter, you're going to have a very sad life. I always say if you peaked in high school, you peaked too soon. So, and most of us don't. God, horrible high school. And so one day I walk into an audition. I'm doing commercials. I'm doing nighttime TV. I'm in episodes of 24 in The Practice. I'm doing a whole new episode. There's a new podcast because of my Boy Meets World appearance. I had a whole lot of fun. I never got to what I wanted, which is like the Julia Roberts level of stardom or Sandra Bullock. Could have done that, but it just wasn't in the cards. One day I walked into an audition and said, sell me this pen. Don't ask me to sell anything. I was broke growing up most of my life. I have a big money issues, blah, blah, blah. So I looked at a pen just like this. And I looked at the camera and I said, funny thing about pens. When I went off to college, I did skip a year. I was very shy, nervous. My mom used to write me longhand notes in a pen just like this. And I realized a pen like this can reach out and touch somebody's heart. I put it down thinking that was the silliest thing I've ever done. Isn't that funny? And the craziest thing is this guy, Jake of Body by Jake, comes out from behind the camera. He grabs my face and says, you're going to make me a lot of money. I don't know what he's talking about. But he has an idea for this thing called the Cable Health Club on Fit TV. And Forbes, you're going to pitch fitness products. And I'm like, I'm not fit. He's like, put a jacket on. I don't care. You can pitch. Because I wasn't fit. In fact, I fought my weight most of my life. The crazy thing is, this was literally the genesis of TikTok Shop and any live selling, especially of fitness, health, and wellness products. There was no role model. There was no one for me to look at it. And he was not even that great a teacher. We figured it out together. We did 1,500 different products. Now when I look at creators and Instagram and influencers, I'm like, guys, I created this. That's what I did. And people would bring me products and I'd create the pitch and we'd do it live on TV. He sold, and by the way, each one of those little squares is a different product. So you see me in roller skates and there I am with the tooth whitener and the bread man and the ab thing and the thigh rocker. And he sold that network for $500 million in 1993.
Amazing.
There was not even a job description, okay? And then infomercials happen, and you may recognize Jack LaLanne, him and his wife Elaine. See that juicer there? You want to see something crazy? That picture, that aired 400 times a week during the early 90s for 8 years in 80 countries. It grossed $1 billion. And just little facts for your audience only. Mark Wahlberg is going to play Jack in a movie next year. So exciting. I know, right?
That's pretty cool. Did you do the beef jerky dryer?
The dehydrator, I did not do that one, but I did advise on George Foreman Grill. I've worked with Mario Lopez. I gave Kim Kardashian her very first TV appearance. She did an infomercial for us. And by the way, this is where I get to plug the book. And I'll tell you why. Because I have worked with thousands of celebrities. I had all of these photos on my Google Drive in color. By the way, the book's in color. Because I want you to reminisce with me. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you've seen my face more than most people thousands of times. And so I have in here, not only do I have the late, great Billy Mays, who I adored, but I'm like the least famous person in my own book. There's Kim, there's Body by Jake, Mario Lopez, Montel Williams, Richard Simmons. We did a project together. Serena Williams, I sold her cool towel. There's Tony Horton from P90X that everybody loved, Wolfgang Puck. And so I get to celebrate them in print, in color. And then what this is every chapter is a different piece of my pie that I promise once you begin to read these and master these, you're like, wow, I can finally get what I want. That's what pitching is. Pitching is not sounding sleazy or salesy. It is the act of getting someone else to say yes. Want to see how it works, Jeff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to write something right here in a big old pen. And I'm going to ask you one question. Let's see how this works out. Okay. Unfortunately, it's on a green piece of paper. I'll put this up first. I got a little surprise here. Would you like to see something cool?
I would like to see something cool.
So did you just say yes? Can you see that yes?
Yes.
Yeah. How did I know you were going to say yes? Because
Who
everybody
doesn't want
does.
to see something cool.
It's a great opening line, though. Because if I say, want to see something cool, and I say, give me your thumbs. See, that's a very funny thing. Guys, y'all notice he just gave me his thumbs? That's called an embedded command. I can't even touch him, but he gave me his thumbs because I told him to. If I was in person with you, I would get you to do this. And you would be going, oh my God, I feel that's so cool. But all I promised you is you want to see something cool, and this is. And then you're going to probably say, pink works great for my wife. I'll take one in silver. I made 2 sales, and boom, we're done.
You're the master.
It's really funny.
I had written down the Kim Kardashian thing. Wanted to thank you for that. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know what? It's funny because she was a closet organizer when I met her. I did an infomercial with the then Bruce, now Caitlyn Jenner. And he said, can you get my girls on television? Kim did a steam iron because she'd owned a clothing store. And on the way out of town, we're sitting in her convertible, and she said to me, my family just got a reality show with Ryan Seacrest. And I remember thinking, yeah, let me know how that works out for you. I wish I had some magic ball because I did not anticipate, nobody anticipated that. But good luck for her. She's a sweet, wonderful girl. Her family's pretty amazing. And no matter what they portray on television, they do that to create conflict because that's drama, but very, very sweet family.
That's got to be one of the longest running reality shows. I mean, it's in the 50 different iterations as well that have come around. So, what about Billy Blanks? Did you know the Tae Bo guy? Did you know the
Billy
Tae Bo
Blank.
guy?
I introduced Billy to the world. That video. So here's one of the cool things too. When you get the book, you also get access to thousands of dollars of free stuff. There are little Easter eggs everywhere in this book, like this one here, that unlocks an entire vault of videos and other things. I like to think that this is the steak, but all the other things about pitching, it's like the salad, the potatoes, some green beans. I'm giving away thousands of dollars worth of stuff and insight and things that I've devoted my whole life to because I'm excited at this age to get people enthusiastic about promoting what they do. If they're a life coach or they've been through a trauma, they should get their coaching out there. If you've got a new invention, I often talk about one of the reasons I'm obsessed with this is that my dad was an inventor and I grew up in his little tiny 1-car garage filled with all these gadgets. And he turned to me one day very innocently and said, kiddo, how do I get my ideas out to the world? And I remember looking up at him and going, Daddy, I have no idea. I'm 8. Well, the problem is when he died, I was about 40. He never got any of his ideas out. And now I'm the only one cleaning up this garage full of all of this stuff. And the trash men came in and they threw it away. And it really hit me hard that if you don't get your idea out there while you're on this side of the dirt, it's over. And I went on a mission and I'm still there. I used to just work with inventors. And now I've moved into entrepreneurs and sales teams because when you can communicate your value, what you do, and help others, that gives you a sense of purpose on this planet. And my dad didn't have that. He died at 70 and he was a little sad. And I wish that I had known what I know now, because I would have been able to, who knows, have a more positive impact on him, but I can do that for you.
That's very good. So this book is for anybody who has anything to pitch, because I guess they're saying, well,
no, guess what? Jeff, are you married?
I am married, yes.
Got kids?
I have 2 kids, yes.
Do you ever ask your kids to clean their room?
I outsource that to my wife and she gets the no.
Yeah. Well, okay. My mom and dad were very emotional people and they would yell, if you don't clean your room, blah, 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 blah. I just remember everybody yelling. Well, I had my kids, I was 42. So let's assume my kids are now 8. I'm 50 years old. And I'm like, I'm not going to do what my folks did. I'm going to pitch my kids to clean their room. So if a pitch is getting a yes, and I know that, how do I get a yes from my kids? It's about buying. Because one of the greatest lessons, and get a pen and write this down, when you're selling a product or pitching a product, stop telling other people what they need. You don't need to clean your room. No. But if you can get them to want what you have, you both win. So I know what the kids want. And that's part of, I teach this formula called the ultimate pitch formula. Step 3 is called assumptions. I'm going to assume that my 2 little kids would love that chocolate chip cookie that I've got cooking in the oven that smells so good. You guys want that, right? Oh yeah, mommy, we do. That's one yes. Hey guys, you know what else I want to do? How about I play a game with you after dinner? No phone. Oh yay, mommy, we want this. We want it. As soon as you're in that I want stage, I would look at them and say, you know what I want? I want the floor in your room spotless. 15 minutes, ready, go. And they would race upstairs. It'd be giggling in a game and they come downstairs. We eat cookies. And what did I do? I got what I wanted. They got what they wanted. So this is a business skill for sure, but it's a life skill. Now, Jeff, let me take you back a couple of years. You met this beautiful girl, right?
Yes.
And you thought, oh my God, I want to spend the rest of my life with her. That must have been a little strange, right? Oh my God, I'm going to pitch you. I'll give you the ring, but yeah, spend your life with me. That's a pitch, dude. If she had said no, what were you going to do, right?
Yeah, what would I have done? Yeah, that would have been a awkward.
Well, people get no's all the time, but you'd figured it out that you're probably going to get a yes. And then you pitched her. Will you marry me is a pitch. She said yes. You both win. 2 kids. Life is good.
Yes. I took a little awkward approach to the engagement when we actually did it, just because being a stand-up comedian and not doing anything straight down but yes, but she did.
But that's what she fell in love with. And you kind of knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pitching is literally getting anything and everything you want. I just did my first TED Talk. I'm getting ready to do my 3rd TEDx. My first one was all about pitching. And guys, it's on YouTube. I'd love you to just Google Forbes Riley and TED. The second one was a beautiful gift. It was called Urban Mosaic up in New Jersey. And as a New Yorker, I had that energy that I wanted to tell the story of the little boy that I took in for 12 years and other prejudice things that have happened in my head. And it's the story of, if you can teach hate, can you also teach love? And then I'm going to do another one, so excited, on July 4th in Kentucky on a horse farm, celebrating the 250th anniversary of this country.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right?
That's really cool. So what made you, I know you've written other books, so what made you want to write this particular one?
All the other books that I've done have been compilation books. Taken a whole bunch of authors. My first one was called What Have You Forbesed Lately? And to Forbes means to manifest something, especially when no one else thinks it's possible. And then I did a series of books, if you end up on Amazon, called One Habit. One Habit for Entrepreneurial Success, One Habit to Thrive in a Post-COVID World. And I have these really cool compilation books, and I was on a roll about two and a half years ago, and my publisher got COVID and died. He was one of my closest friends. And I stopped. I stopped wanting to deal with books and writing, and it was very confusing. And then COVID passed me, all the dust, it was like, wow, what is it that you wanted to do before all that happened? And I said, I want to establish the joy of pitching. I had a guy the other day interview me, and it was a little rude. He's like, so what do you say to people who think that pitching is pushy and salesy? And I thought, I wanted to say to him, whoever's saying it with that snooty attitude, check their bank account. It's no more than 5 or 6 figures. I guarantee it. Because nothing happens in life without sales. You've got to enroll people to be your investor, your business partner, your client. So there's nothing pushy or salesy at all when you do it right. In fact, people, when you pitch them, usually say thank you because you're providing a solution to their problem. I'm not selling you. I'm not hyping you. I'm enrolling you. Here, the 3 E's of pitching. I'm exciting you about something. I'm engaging you. And then I'm going to enroll you. And I'm going to ask you for the close. And when you do that, the other person's like, man, I really want it. Thank you so much for this. I still get thank yous about the Jacqueline juicer decades later. So pitch things that make people want to say thank you.
I feel like we must have had the juicer. My dad was such a, he bought stuff off the TV all the time. The only reason he stopped was after my mom passed away and he got remarried. His new wife was like, "Yeah, we don't do it."
That's funny. Plus, the other thing that I was looking at is, I don't know if you know, but I just did a video on TikTok that has 21 million views.
Wow, that's 21 million more views than my last video on. Nice job.
I know, right?
Yeah.
If you go to the School of Hard Knocks, you'll see that he's interviewed Shaquille O'Neal and Tom Cruise and lots of billionaires. And he interviewed me about 4 weeks ago. 21 million views. It's a 1-minute video. It's worth watching because it ended up getting 9,200 comments. I mean, it exploded. It is the definition of viral. And it's got 12 million views on Instagram. And it's amazing because I had no idea what he was going to ask me. It was kind of an ambush and 1 minute long. It's just my philosophies. It all comes out in 1 minute. And the reason it came out so good, I think, is that I teach pitching every day since May of 2020. That's 6 years. I'll give a gift to your audience. You guys, if you like what I'm saying at all, I go live every Sunday for free. I used to charge for it, but I've now decided since I became my age, it's free. Yeah, and if you're on the East Coast, it's 5 o'clock Eastern. And for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I teach my philosophies and then I unmute because I usually have about 1,000 people on the call. And I will start flipping pitches for people and blowing their minds. And I'm loving doing this. It's really a very fulfilling part of my life.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I might have seen that on Instagram because I was flipping through your Instagram. So if it's
I'm happy to give you that link. It's simply pitchsecretswithans.training.com. It's completely free. It is fun. There's no obligation to show up. And I like being in that driver's seat that says, hey, you know what? Life has been very good to me. And I've also survived the bad things, that it's my turn to give back in whatever way I can. And so one of the reasons I wrote this too is that this is 197 infomercials. I hosted all of them. And at some point I realized only I knew that. And I said, my legacy, my grandkids have got to remember that Grandma hosted Ab and Thigh Roller, Ab Rocker, Abs of Steel, Ab Solo, Abtronics, Advocal, Aerobed, AgeFit, AirPress, Massage Boots, Alps Printer, and Aqua Clean. All the way to Z-May, Zach and Danny's Coffee Roaster, and ZooBook. So it really is kind of an A to Z. I looked at that and thought, I've hosted every letter in the alphabet. Literally, there's even an X, the X Factor Multi-Styler. You pick a letter, I've hosted something with it. And I thought it was fun.
That is amazing. You've had so many amazing things. I did want to, can I ask you pop culture question again?
Go for it.
Well, I wanted to, because you worked on 2 David E. Kelly shows, Picket Fences and The Practice. Did you get to engage? Did you meet David E. Kelly? I know you met everyone else.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. You know, Michelle's a very lucky girl. Michelle Pfeiffer, who's married to David. He was very handsome back then. Just smart, quiet. I was more excited about meeting just Tom Skerritt, who was in Top Gun. He was the dad in Picket Fences. And The Practice was just, what an extraordinary cast. And to you level up your game when you're around people who are extraordinary. And so I wish I had bigger characters. I got typecast a lot as reporters and police chiefs and certain kind of characters. I did just star in a feature film called Black Creek. This is a little pop culture for you. Do you know who Cynthia Rothrock is?
Cynthia Rothrock.
The number one leading female martial artist, over 87 movies.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. When you do a little research on her, problem is not a lot of women martial artists and people don't really want to watch a woman, apparently. So she decided to create her own film. We did about 3 years ago. It just got released. It's on Netflix and Amazon Prime. And I play the bad girl. It's an 1890s Western. It's a revenge story. And I am not a nice person. And I loved it.
And this is Black Creek?
Black Creek. Yeah. Myself, Don the Dragon Wilson, a couple of other great people like Keith Vitale. It's fun.
That's really cool. All right. I'll find it. Well, I'll put a link in the show notes to all this. I got links to all your things. And then as a comedian, I did see also that you hosted at the Laugh Factory. So you probably worked with some big names there for the few years.
For 3 years. Here's just a funny story. I'm not that funny. And I kept proving that over and over again. I ended up hosting a stand-up comedy thing at ski resorts. It's kind of a long story how I got that. I am definitely the queen of reinvention. If you look at my resume, it makes no sense at all. I hosted the X Games for 6 years for ESPN. I did the debut with Stuart Scott, and I don't know anything about sports. I hosted Westwood One's Off the Record. I literally off the record with Forbes Riley with an office next to Howard Stern and Casey Kasem. I usually just kept pinching myself going, because it all came down to communication. And then one day, there was an open call at the Laugh Factory, and I walked in. It was the end of the day. I was terrified because I'd never done formal stand-up comedy. I don't really like the writing part. And so I walked in, and I remember I was wearing a dress, carrying my pants, and they're like, oh, get up on stage. I said, no, I have to go to the bathroom and change. I can't be funny in a dress. And they're like, just get on stage. And I had this banter back and forth, and we get a call from upstairs, and it's Jamie Masada, the owner and creator of the Laugh Factory. He said, bring her up. As Jamie would say, bring her up. And he said, you, every Friday and Saturday night, you're my new host. Now go. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, there was no internet back then. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I honestly didn't know what to do. So I went to Cosmopolitan magazine. I just read a comedy article by Rita Rudner about working out at a health club. I memorized that. I got on stage Friday night, and I was Rita Rudner. Da 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 da. Jamie's in the back, and he's like, I'm like, oh no, what did I do? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm being funny. He's like, didn't hire you to be funny. I got funny comedians. They're big people. You get on stage without a thought in your head and give me 10 minutes. Let the comedians. And I'm like, okay. So now I didn't have to ever do stand up. I would literally look at somebody and I can riff. I'm really fast and I'm not the funniest out there, but I'm a great host. And I would host Robin Williams, Jerry Seinfeld, Ellen DeGeneres, the Wayans brothers, you name it. I met everyone at some point over the 3 years that I was there. And I loved it. It became TV opportunity. That's when, it's funny. Success breeds success. The more that you do, if you're good at what you do and people see you, that's what's happening with influencers today. Your job now is you don't have gatekeepers like we did. When I was on Home Shopping for 35 years, QVC and HSN, you have buyers and producers, and you guys turn on your TikTok shop and start pitching. You can literally make money anytime you want if you understand these skills.
Did find one other piece of trivia. After your starring role in Splatter University, shortly after, a few years later, you did an episode of Sibs with
Margaret Colin.
Yes, and Jamie Gertz, who's now a fellow female entrepreneur billionaire. I just read that.
Well, Jamie came from a lot of money. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that, but
yeah, there's a couple of actors that you don't realize, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the daughter of a billionaire. There's a couple of them out there that you're like, I would have never known that. So yeah, and the funny thing about Margaret Colin, who co-starred with Jamie Gertz, I went to high school. We and I used to dance together. And there's even a funnier story because we never really got close. Her career took off a little higher. She was on Edge of Night on a soap opera, and I was always admiring of her. She was tall, a lot thinner than I was, and beautiful. She plays Jeff Goldblum's girlfriend in Independence Day. Well, so funny story. Fast forward later, I'm in a place called the Beverly Hot Springs. It's a very low-key kind of natural springs in Hollywood. And all the celebrity girls, I didn't realize they all went there. And one day I'm standing there and I see who I think is Vivica Fox with no makeup on. And I'm looking and I'm like, because I teach a thing called the elevator pitch. Great piece of advice. If you see somebody that you're a fan of, don't walk up to them and tell them how wonderful they are. They already know that. And you look less than. Find a reason to connect and give them something. So I remember looking at Vivica and I'm like, oh my God, Viv, I met you at the Independence Day. Margaret Colin's a friend of mine. That did not happen. I just put it, and she was like, oh, hey, hi, how are you? That's all you got to do. And I said, so what are you up to now? And she's like, oh, I'm traveling a lot. I said, you're traveling? Hey, you know what? You want to see something cool? I got the greatest travel fitness product. We are both naked. And by the way, she's done this on my podcast, so this is a true story. And I give it to her, and she's doing this. And the funny thing is, when you're doing this, your boobs pop up and down. And I'm literally standing there watching Vivica Fox, the star of all of these things, naked doing a spin gym. And I'm like, where's the cameras? How come I'm the only one seeing this? Is so cool. And then she turns to me and she said, how do I get one of these? I said, I got a new book. I was doing a book called Redition back then. I said, I need someone to do the forward. If you write that, I'll give this to you. It's been about 12 years and we've been friends ever since. You're the only one who would appreciate Sibs, though. God, that's going back a ways.
You did a lot of Boy Meets World. You mentioned it's Sweet Valley High, Power Rangers. You could hit the Comic-Cons.
Oh, I did. Well, I starred in an episode of Beetleborgs. That was I love that character. Her name was Iris McCase, or I rest my case. And I got to interact with all of the Beetleborgs and I got kidnapped. Guys, you should watch this. This is really interesting to you, Jeff. If you go to YouTube and type in Beetleborgs and Forbes Riley, I'm the entire episode. I get thrown into an elevator by the bad guy. I get to punch out Frankenstein. That's one of my favorite episodes of anything I've done.
That's amazing. You've done so many fun, cool stuff. I appreciate you sharing it all with me. Let's talk about the book one more time. Hold it up. Pitch Secrets A to Z.
Here's the funny thing, guys. It is more of a life skills book because this is about life. So Jeff, I don't know if you know the answer, but if you don't, what would you think chapter A might be?
A would be how to be awesome.
How to be awesome. It could be audience, it could be ask, it could be authenticity, but it's not. Chapter A is attitude. And for me, that was a lesson I learned from an acting teacher many, many years ago who said attitude monitors talent, which pretty much meant nobody really cares how talented you are. If you're a dick, go home. And I seriously, that's really what he was talking about. And I carried that with me going, even if you're not the most talented, be the nicest, be the most giving, be somebody that people want to be around. And then B is belief. Because here's the crazy thing. Why do I start that the way the alphabet starts? Because if you don't believe in you, don't expect anyone else to. So when people come up to me like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm like, say cancel, cancel. Just say that you're excited. Don't make yourself less than. I train people to speak on stages. And they're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. Just like when I said I can't. If you say, I don't know if I can do this, your brain is going, But if you literally say, I got this, and you walk out with that attitude of, I got this, your whole body's like, I got this. And that's what people want to see. But by the time you get to C, and C is closing, because you do have to ask for the sale, you want to make money. The secret's in here. This is my entire life in a tiny little book. But every chapter, you can literally go pick a letter, by the way. Pick your favorite letter.
G.
G is for goals. And in this book, I teach you how to set goals that you can achieve. And one of the ways I know that is 3 years ago, I was in a really bad car accident. And out of that, I ended up becoming a bodybuilder, losing 35 pounds, 15% body fat, and got a medal at 64 for being a bikini fitness model.
Nice.
Goals without consequences are just dreams. And I really express how to achieve them in the book.
Dr. Forbes Riley, you are amazing. Thank you for hanging out with me and sharing all these pearls of wisdom and a little bit of your fancy actress background too.
Well, I have to tell you, you've done the most research and asked the most fun questions of anybody in a very long time. And I appreciate that. So thank you.
Well, my pleasure. I enjoyed prepping for this conversation. So.
Oh, thank you.